Hey you guys, so I've been getting like a lot of comments about twin flames, karmics, and two, what really kind of triggered this desire to do this video is because, of course, it always takes somebody to irritate your soul a little bit to make you kind of talk about things. So maybe that was her whole purpose for commenting. Like, I don't think you know what a karmic is. I'm like, bish, let me tell you something, okay? But no, seriously. I don't know. I don't really know where to begin. This is like my second take. I keep doing this. I'm like, where do I start? Where do I start? I'm like looking at my notes. But okay, so kind of to start off, maybe to kind of define like a soulmate, twin flame, karmic, just a brief breakdown. First of all, I feel like a soulmate is anyone that you have like a karmic contract with. A karmic contract. See, to believe in these type of things, I feel like you need to believe in like reincarnation, or believe things like before you came into the physical form that you existed on a higher plane. So those are where my beliefs stem from. I didn't always believe that. I don't know what I believed at first. I think I just thought you just were here and you were living life. But, you know, because of the spiritual awakening, it did bring me to astrology. And astrology is kind of like all about your past life. And it was just like, you know what? All of this stuff makes sense to me now. It makes no sense. I mean, you know, because my life didn't make sense. The things that I was going through, you know, I'm just like, these things don't make sense. Why this is what happened to me. And so then when I got into astrology, and it was like talking about how karma works and how you play out your previous life, where you're just kind of carrying out things that happen. It's not so much like a punishment, but more so like a reflection of what was done in a previous life. I mean, it's like things you could be doing now that you don't recognize. And so then and whether good or bad too, like, so then in the previous life, it's like, you know, you racked up, you know, you come back and you're someone who's spiritual and you got money, you got a partner, you know, all of that type of stuff that maybe you took for granted in this life, but because you corrected so many things, the next life it comes back around and it's like, oh, it's so much better. So it's like now that I look in at other people's lives who appear to have like that type of life that I kind of would wish to have sometimes. I mean, I'm grateful for my current life, but not always, I guess. And then there are still things that I keep, my eyes get long, you know, but you know, when I look at them and I'm saying, you know what, they must have really did some really well-deserving things in a previous life. Like even with relationships, from what I've learned through certain astrologers and their philosophies, that the reason why you have a partner in the first place is supposed to be like a blessing. You know, to have a partner to go through life with, someone that you can share things with, that's like a huge blessing. And so I was reading, I forgot which one. It's actually a couple of astrologers didn't note this, but they were saying, like, basically the reason why you might have certain troubles in this life is because you didn't rack up enough spiritual merit in your previous life. So, and it makes sense. Like now, like I feel like that's all I do is talk about spirituality and try to help people or assist them on their path of enlightenment. And just maybe in a previous life, I just did not do that. So I don't know. It just makes sense to me as far as the whole soul contract. So getting back on subject with that soul contracts, I feel like anyone who you have an agreement with, like your family, like you're gonna play my mom, dad, I'm gonna come to you in this year, that, you know, I feel like those are all soul contracts. Romantic, family, people that you're getting to know, even if it's just like a teacher, student. I feel like certain things like that get into like like a group contract more so than something small and personal, but it's still like, okay, I'm going to know you. I'm going to recognize your energy. You're going to be my teacher, you know, stuff like that. So I feel like certain things are like groups, like you have soul groups, and then you have like the soul, intimate soul contracts. So basically, I feel like a soulmate can be anybody that you have a contract with. Now, romantically, I feel like a soulmate. Yes, I feel like all these relationships can help to mirror one another so that you can recognize how to improve yourself. I feel like all relationships basically do that. But I feel like the difference, the soulmate relationship is just kind of more so like peaceful. You know, it's someone that you have your ups and downs, but it's like normal up and downs. It's nothing dramatic. You guys work your problems out. You guys are both just have the same path, and you're just kind of, your energy is just flowing really well together. It's a give and take, consistent give and take, and it's just peaceful. The karmic soulmate, I feel like a karmic soulmate is someone who is very troubling. They're here to teach you just like the harshest of lessons. And it's still a reflection of something that you have within you, maybe that you need to recognize. And then two, like some things that I've read about, like if you have like a karmic backlog with someone. So maybe you owe somebody, let's just say for instance, in a previous life, you and somebody went to war together. So you were just kind of like war partners, and you took care of that person. You just waited on them. You carried them around when their leg was shot off. You know, you helped them eat. You did all this nice stuff. So you kind of felt like the other person was like, man, I owe you my life, you know. So in this life, you guys come back together, and it's like this time it's the other way around. The other person is like all broken, or you need to assist that person. You know what I'm saying? So I hope it makes sense. I know I'm kind of like, but you know, it's like sometimes you come into the karmic partner, you come in contact with them because there are like you owe them something, you know. How else can I put this? I just feel like overall it just kind of takes you through a very dark place. It's like a whipping, you know, something that whips you into shape, tries to get your attention, to shake your attention. The twin flame connection, I feel, is more like an unconditional love. It's just very loving. It's very nurturing. I feel like a twin flame kind of shows you your highest potential. So the focus is on like a lot of positive things, but it starts off that way. But I feel like it has its problems too, which is when you guys start disconnecting, it's like you both kind of go your separate ways to work on each other, your own individual selves at a separate time. And then when you guys are like vibrating back on the same level again, I feel like you guys are brought back together because you're more in alignment, more in a peaceful state where you can kind of work together. Some people can retain that peace and that state, but then some is like the minute something is off, it's like the separation begins again. And really, because I think it's almost like maybe because you lose focus on like the purpose of the relationship or of the connection, it's like it's still always about you and self-growth. And then at some point, I feel like maybe you start focusing too much on the other person again, instead of remaining true to who you are. It's almost like you have to learn how to remain an individual before you can have a calm, peaceful relationship. Now I get it. Like some people, they have relationships and it's just not about that. That's not their lesson. But if you've encountered a twin flame, that's probably your lesson. You know, well, one of the lessons. There's probably tons of lessons in that connection. But one of them I do feel like for sure is about self-love. And, you know, because sometimes you know how you get in those relationships and all of a sudden it's all about them. You're like, oh, I'll do anything for this person. It's all about them. You know, and you just kind of give them all of their energy. You cater to all of their needs. You don't think about yourself anymore. You don't care because it makes you happy because they're happy. But I think it's just kind of unique or different in the case of a twin flame. It's just like, no, this life, you need to learn how to love yourself and stand your ground, because maybe too, you didn't love yourself in a previous life. Maybe you were always giving all of your time and effort to someone else. So now you come into this life to learn how to love yourself first before you can have someone to share that with. So, you know, and I'm still learning, you guys. I don't really focus too much on that twin flame journey because I feel that, oh, I should have been looking at a timer because I know I'll get off subject. Let me at least start now. But I know that, now I forgot what I was going to say about the journey. See? Oh, well. Okay, I hate that. I'm just like, what the hell was I just getting ready to say about that? So, anyway, I'll move on. I'll go ahead and just kind of start talking about my karmic and that situation and how I broke away from them. So, my karmic. I met my karmic when I was a child. My soul knew his soul. I always felt like that was supposed to be my husband. And I never could let that go. Even like once we became older, like around 11, 12, we started going our separate ways. But he was always in my heart. And I really felt like I could not shake this man from my energy. And so he's always been in and out of my life, but just when we got older, it was more so just like, hey, what's up? Friends, yeah, our families know one another. You know, my brother and his brother are just like the best friends, the bestest of friends. They call each other cousins. And that's another thing. He thought we were cousins because our families were so close. It's like, no, nigga, we not cousins. Like, and I want to screw you one day, so cut it out. But seriously, we grew up together, and so we went our separate ways. I could never let him go. And I feel like really I did kind of have like an obsession with him. It was like an obsession. I could never think straight. Whenever he came to the house, I would always be shaking, just nervous. I couldn't talk. I couldn't think of anything to say. It was just bad. And I was like, why do I feel this way? This is horrible. So fast forward to, and he was my prom date. I asked him to take me on prom. But fast forward to when we were adults, the first time I did see him since prom. And it was the same thing. I was extremely nervous. And before that happened, though, which is some sort of key, because I want to talk about how I thought he was my twin at first. The day before I saw him, I had like this intense dream, premonition, experience, whatever. It was so crystal clear, the dream that I had about him. I don't want to go into detail about the dream, but not that it was bad or anything. I know I can talk and ramble. So when I woke up from the dream, I was crying, and it was just like it dawned on me, because I was in a relationship at the time. I had been in a relationship for about 8 years. And I had finally moved on from him, basically, too. But because I had that dream about him, I was just like, I was like, I gotta see his face. I gotta see his face. So I went to his Facebook, and we were already friends on Facebook, but you know, like I said, I hadn't really paid much attention to him. And when I looked at his face, I just started crying, and I was just like, oh my God, it's starting again, like the obsession. I was just like, what is this, you know? And so my brother was having a birthday party that day, and my brother invited him to his birthday party. So we ended up connecting again there, and we were catching up. And in the back of my mind, I was just like, this is my husband, this is my husband. And I had always heard that he was a terrible person. You know, all these rumors about him. My brother never wanted me to be involved with him. But, you know, I never saw that side of him. I was just like, whatever, you know, he seems cool to me. And so we were talking, we were getting to know each other. And at the time, he had like a kind of an open relationship type of situation. But see, in my mind, I was just like, oh, okay, well, since it's nothing official, I'll play along. You know, I was like, because I've always felt like this was going to be my husband. So another reason why I felt so strongly attracted to him, why I feel like the universe did that, was really to also get me away from my current boyfriend. Because I just don't feel like it was meant for us to be together. Like I feel like we had a purpose, and we lived our purpose, but I feel like we were trying to extend that soul contract. Well, I was, at least. I was trying to extend it. But it was over. But I was always just still trying to hold on to that relationship. But when I ran into my karmic, who I didn't know was the karmic at the time, I was just like, oh my God, like this is what I've been missing the whole time in my relationship, that feeling of like, you know. So when I saw him, it helped me to easily just like break away from my current boyfriend. We were already kind of like on the verge of letting go, but like when I came in contact with my karmic, that was a wrap. I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, goodbye. We could break up now. Like, I'm straight, you know. And so we did end up breaking up shortly after I came in connection with my karmic, but I didn't even care. I didn't cry. I didn't mourn. You know, it was just like nothing. We broke up, an 8-year relationship. I was like, I was done. I was over it. So, me and my karmic, I saw red flags early on. For one, he was an alcoholic, but I was just thinking like, oh, I guess he's just having a heavy drink tonight. But then it got to the point where every time he called me, every time we talked on the phone, it's just like, oh, he's drunk again. You know, so he had an extreme addiction to alcohol. It was very severe. But, you know, this was still the new stages, and I was still just kind of like, well, you know, he is what he is. That's him, you know, so far, like how he is. But in another red flag, though, even though I was like madly in love with him, we had nothing in common. Like I was actually disappointed from our first phone conversation. I was like, it's nothing here. Like, I feel like he was talking like a lot. He had like a lot to say. He's a rambler, but it was just like, okay, you know. But anyway, it was like we had nothing in common, but that just still didn't stop the intense connection that I had with him. Which was also probably 90% lust, you know. But so as time progressed, eventually he didn't want to talk to me no more because I had got clingy. I'm chopping up the story so much because it's just obviously way too long. But he didn't want to talk to me no more because I think I was coming off kind of clingy, pretty clingy. And so I didn't know how to handle that. Like, I lost my mind. That was like the first time I was a teenager. But this is the first time I had like lost my mind over anybody and embarrassed myself severely. I remember he didn't want to talk to me. He didn't want to open his front door. And I was like banging on the door, like, let me in. And I was like crying. It was like so embarrassing. Like, and I was like 30, guys, because I'm old, y'all. I'm in my 40s. But at the time, this was happening when I was like 36. So he broke it off from me, and I was like losing my mind. Like, I'm not good at breaking up, period, but this was the first time I like lost my mind. And I was grieving and I was crying. But the other spiritual things that were happening was that I was seeing, I started seeing 11. And I was also having like, what do you call it? Like these orgasms, but they were like phantom orgasms. And I was like, why am I feeling like this? You know, it'd just be like in the middle of the day. And also my heart would start palpitating. And I was just like, what is this weird feeling? I was like, I feel like this started happening around the time I met him. But the tricky thing is that about 6 weeks later, I ran into my twin. And my twin, what do you call it? My twin, we went to high school together. And we had actually ran into each other since high school about 4 or 5 years prior. And we were living in the same neighborhood and didn't even know it. Only like about 2 blocks away. So fast forward back to the year I met my twin in Karmic, or reconnected rather. 6 weeks later, I had came in contact with my twin. We ran into each other. We were like, hey, how you doing? But this time he was like, kind of like, yeah, no, give me your number. Like, we need to stay in contact and this and that. And I gave him my number and stuff, but I wasn't like into him. And he was very nice looking. I just was not, my heart was just straight. This is a 4 cups. Like, I was just like, no, thank you. Like, I'm fixated on this person over here. So, my twin was also sending me text messages, and it was weird because every time my karmic was, you know, ignoring me, or I would be upset because he hadn't called me back or text me, every time I would be kind of moping about that, my twin would send me a text message or call me. So, hey, how you doing? Just want you to know you're beautiful. Have a beautiful day. You know, things like that. If he called, I probably wasn't really, not in the beginning, I wasn't really answering his calls because I was just like, whatever, I'll talk to him later. I'm not into you right now. Totally not into you right now. And this was before I knew he even had a girlfriend anyway, but I was just like blowing him off. So anyway, when I separated from the karmic, I went through this whole process, and I was just, by this time, trying to figure out why I was having like heart palpitations and all of this type of stuff. So that's when I had Googled about, I think I said, can you feel your soulmate's heartbeat? And I think the first things that started popping up was like twin flame articles. And I was like, what is that? And so I was like reading about the twin flames, and I was like, oh, okay, like, are we twin flames? Like, I totally think I feel this way. I was like, I had that premonition, and now I'm seeing like this 11 number. And then that's another thing, right before I started seeing 11, when I was like so obsessed with me and him reconnecting again, I was like looking at our birthdays and stuff. And I saw that we were born exactly 11 weeks apart on a Tuesday. And I was just like, oh, that's so interesting. I don't know what it was about that 11 that just like really stood out to me. But yeah, so I was like seeing like 11s and stuff. And so I was thinking that was my twin flame. And then during the time that we were separated, you know, I was going through a bad break. I went through depression, like, and it's crazy that I'm talking about how bad it was with my karmic. It was worse with my twin. But I was grieving over my karmic. That took about 5 or 6 months to overcome. But I was in a lot of pain, but I was still seeing the 11s. I was still seeing like all these synchronicities. I'm trying to look at my notes to make sure I'm not leaving out anything. I probably am, because I'm skipping and rambling. I always don't want to bore people. I just want to make sure I'm sticking to the facts and stuff. So yeah, so anyway, during this time, my twin had been sending me text message almost like this whole year from the time that we met. It was going on almost a year before I started like really paying him any attention. I had a couple of conversations with him during the grieving process, and I did like his conversation. I was like, he's interesting, you know, but I still just kind of kept him at bay. I was still getting on and off these heart palpitations. It was other things going on. I know I'm not focusing right now, but I remember feeling like weird sensations in my skin, crawling sensations. And see, I have a video about this where I talk specifically about the symptoms. I felt like on my 36th birthday, I felt like I had like some sort of awakening right here. Or was it my 37th birthday? See, I always get those two birthdays mixed up when this actually happened. But I felt like I had this intense headache on my birthday, and it just was like centered right here. And I was just like, what is this? And I'm not a migraine person. And I was just like, I never had a headache like this before. This is intense. And I was already going through all the other things. And then I kind of joked with my son. I was like, I said, maybe my Kundalini is, my third eye or Kundalini is awakening or something. And I had joked about it because I don't know where he had heard about something like that, but we were like joking about like third eye awakening and stuff. So, sure enough, like right after, it was actually the day before my birthday, but when midnight hit my actual birthday, is when it went away, because me and my family, we were out to dinner. Like, so it was so late. We got a late start that day, and we were at the restaurant. It was like after midnight. And as soon as midnight hit, I kid you not, that headache just like completely stopped, went away. And I was just like, that was weird. That was weird. It just stopped. So, yeah, so back to while I was grieving over the narcissist, me and my twin started connecting around the summertime, but that's because I was finally like moving on from the narcissist. Now, too, at this time, I didn't know the narcissist. I still didn't know how bad he was, because we hadn't really officially had a relationship. We were just like spending a lot of time together, and I wanted to rush things. But we were just, he was being a gentleman at that time. But when he would get extremely drunk, he would start talking like in another voice. And he was just like, you don't know me. You don't want to get involved with me. And I would just be like, he is drunk off his rocker. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And he was just like, he kept saying, I'm trying to be nice to you. I'm trying to be nice to you. And he would always say that. And I was just like, whatever, he's crazy. You know, plus I got all that Scorpio in me. I was just, that shit's sexy. So, you know, I just kind of like blew all that type of stuff off. So, like I said, after that, you know, I had a chance to start to know my twin. And one day, that's when all the 11 stuff started increasing like rapidly. It was like ridiculous. I was seeing 11s everywhere. And I was just like, why is nobody talking about this? I was asking people like, is this happening to you? Are you seeing these numbers? And people were like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Never heard of that. Like, I was just like, this is weird. This is bizarre. So what happened too, I feel like that breakup with the narcissist, that first round, I feel like he was the catalyst to teaching me unconditional love, because I did have to learn how to separate. I did have to learn how to grieve and let go. It's like when we broke up, it wasn't necessarily a spiritual awakening, but it did do something to me. So anyway, by this time, I'm getting to know my twin, and one day it just dawned on me. I was like, we were having this conversation, and it literally looked like he started glowing. I was like, what the hell? I was like, this is my twin. I was like, what? This is my twin. I was like, I think the energies were mixed up because we had met each other or started reconnecting at the same time. So the things that were happening with him was I was getting like a lot of phantom smells. I didn't have like a premonition about him, but it was like I was getting phantom smells. Like, for instance, I would just be in the house and, you know, doing my business, cleaning up, cooking dinner, whatever. And then all of a sudden I would smell like a cigarette, just start smelling cigarettes. And I'm like, why am I smelling cigarettes? And then next thing you know, he's calling me And he'll be like, yeah, I'm in your neighborhood. He was like, I'm about to come through. You home? It's like, yeah, come on, you know. So I noticed, I just started taking note of that. And then also the things that I was noticing every time he called me, like about 99% of the time, it was 11 after the hour. No matter what time of day it was like 11 after the hour. If it wasn't 11 after the hour, it was some master number, 22 after the hour, 33 after the hour. And he didn't know about none of this stuff. And I was just like, how is this happening? I was like, he just keeps calling me when 11 minutes have passed, you know? So, and then whenever he was getting ready to come over, I would look up and then there's 11, like the day he would be coming over, the 11s would just be going nuts, you know? So, that's part of the reason why I just started feeling like, I guess this is my twin flame, you know? And not only that, our connection, he made me feel just so happy. It was, the connection between us was just always like peaceful. He was always telling me about how beautiful I was. He always just had nice things to say. Don't get me wrong, he's not perfect. And I think too, that's what part of the problem is with these twin flame relationships, is that everybody thinks it's supposed to be some Shangri-La type energy all the time. And, you know, people are sitting rocking and swaying and looking all starry-eyed and talking about spirituality all the time. And it's not that. This is like reality. This is real shit that happens. You know, you just happen to meet somebody who's real and you go through real shit, but they kind of get you on your path. They kind of, they show you unconditional love. And then, but it's like at the same time, you have to learn detachment from them. So, but yeah, he was the energy between us was always very loving. But he was an alcoholic too, but he was a different type of alcoholic. He wasn't mean. He just more so like get like a kid that needs babysitting, like you need to be watched. Like, don't go out in the street. There's a car coming, get back in the house. You know, just very, very playful, very silly, wants your attention, wants your focus. But he also kind of represented the devil card too, because he was actually very clingy, whether he would admit to that or not. But it was like he followed you around the house everywhere you went. Like, it's like he talks like constantly. He's like always talking. And it's funny because he want to make sure that you're paying attention. It's just like, what? Yes, I heard you. And it is funny. I hear everything that he says, you know, but it's like, baby, I got to do this. I got to do that. You know, I can't just sit here and stare into your face while you're telling me these things, you know, but he's an extreme talker. And so, but he was like the type that he would like follow me to every room I went. He just wanted to, I go in the bath, he's in the bathroom, you know, he doesn't care. That's how he was. So, but I was saying that to say too that how he's not perfect is because, you know, he's had a temper at the time. His temper has gotten much better, but at the time he had a temper. He was never abusive to me. He never said mean things. He never like hurt me like that. He was always very sweet to me. The thing that hurt me about him though, although he was honest about the other relationship and I allowed myself to get involved with someone who was in a relationship, was that it got to the point where it was like, okay, well, if this is how you are, I respect that. But can I talk to her? She does. Now he said she knew and we would be on the phone and she would be in the background. But it was still like, I want to know her. Like what if something happened to you? Like I want to be able to talk, like what's going on? So I was like, if this is how it's going to be, you know, then get your head out the gutter. I'm not thinking about, although some people, they might, you know, like those type of relationships where, you know, everybody's like that. That's not what I wanted. I was just like, okay, I get it. When he's with you, he's with you. But when he's with me, he's with me. And I guess I just wanted like some sort of structure. And you guys, I know this is hard to admit. I know some of you all are like, no, never. But see, this is what got me in the mindset to where I am now, why I'm able to put myself in other people's shoes because I've been there. And now I understand I can't judge those people. And I'm not saying that I want to do that with everybody either. You know, it was just something about our connection that I was like, I could do this. You know, but I'm not going to say to any dude that comes up to me and like, yeah, I'm not going to be like that with everybody. I might just be like, oh, okay, well, no, thank you. But with him, with that connection that we had, I was just like, okay, I can work through this. We'll figure it out. But yeah, it was like, I guess our issue was that he didn't want it like that. It was just like, I wanted structure. Like, I wanted to know, like, okay, can you be here at a certain, like, what days are you you know, he just didn't want anything. Like, he didn't want zero strings. It was just like, I want to come and go as I please. And that's where the problem came. It's just like, look, I'm already sacrificing that part. Like, at least you could give me as a schedule, or I can't do this, you know? So those were like where we would headbutt with the, you know, like the temper. He never beat me though. It was just like, he got that type of energy, like he would do that. And he's told me that he has been physical with other girlfriends, but it wasn't like that with us. We didn't have that type of connection. Like, he would threaten me, or, you know, it was just that he would be like, and it's just like, is that supposed to scare me? You don't scare me with your little flaring up nostrils, like nostrils, you know, it's just like, that doesn't scare me. So it was just like, we just kind of like matched each other, and but we would always just kind of move on. But the thing is that when we did get mad at each other, it was like that Five of Swords energy, where we just kept trying to outdo one another and being distant. And then two, when I first got crushed from my karmic, one of the things that it taught me was not to chase. So that's what I didn't do. I didn't chase him. I let him like come back to me when he ready to come back around, when he ready to start acting normal again, or when he ready to be with me, then I just let him call, and it was like no big deal to me. Like, I could text people and text him and then not get an answer back right away, and then I'd just be like, no big deal. That's where I had changed, because I used to be that girl that would like be texting like nonstop, calling nonstop until you picked up the phone. And, you know, my karmic like shook me from that. He just, the things that I went through just that first round, like, I stopped doing stuff like that. And I was just like, you know what, if you're not pursuing me, then I'm done. It's cool. So, but when my twin came, you know, like I said, the connection is cool, but it was like we couldn't align. Like, our paths were just like different. We were always just going in different directions. And that's why I keep saying me and my twin, we just don't get along. Which maybe that's the wrong description. We get along very well. It's very beautiful, the connection. Spiritually, I have dreams about him before he's on the way. Sometimes I've had dreams about his personal and private life that are very detailed, that pisses him off because he doesn't understand how I would know such things. What else? That whole heart palpitation thing, I found out it was him. All along, I thought it was being caused by my karmic, but it wasn't. I would know. I just started taking note, like, every time he was on the way over, or if we were upset with each other, is when I would feel the heart palpitations. And I think when I was having those phantom orgasms, I think that was him doing it to somebody else, or himself. But I think that's how that kind of played a role. And then just again, like I said, seeing like 11:11, like even now, even though our connection, I feel like we're kind of disconnected right now. But even like when I start seeing the 11s everywhere, it's just like, uh-oh, you know, probably like within a day to a month, he's back around. So anyway, I'm trying to talk about this without, you know, I still feel like I'm rambling. It's 27 minutes in, probably really technically 30 minutes in. And I hope you guys are just like okay with this. So basically we broke up, and that was the worst. I thought the breakup with the karmic was the worst. This was the worst. That is when I feel like my spirituality like accelerated. it's like all of a sudden, I don't really know how to explain it. I just feel like I started learning, I guess, more learning about astrology and just kind of having like an understanding about life, having an understanding about energies, realizing too that I did have empath abilities. It was just a lot of, I feel like he unlocked a lot of things. So just like a quick break to talk about how do you know the difference. I almost feel like, and I'll answer that again just in case, but the difference is that between the karmic and the twin flame energy, I just kind of feel like, well, you know what? I'm not going to say that part yet. Mainly because it like threw me off, but I wanted to address it separately. But I just felt like the learning process was accelerated. I'm going to take a quick break because I feel like I'm off subject and probably need to do this over. Be right back. All right, I am back. But I'm trying to pick up from where I was. I think I was trying to focus on like, how do you know your twin is your twin? And the only thing, honestly, it's like I knew more after we separated. That's when things really kind of hit home. But while we were together, I guess it was more so, it's like it's hard to explain. We both knew that this connection was unusual and we would talk about it. And I did kind of tell him, like, I think we might be, you know, like this twin flame thing that I found, but I never did like really go into detail with it about him. He kind of like shrugged it off. But there was a recognition that the connection that we had was very unusual. And he would always say, like, what did you do to me? It was like hilarious. I'm like, what are you talking about? But he was always like, what did you do to me? What did you do to me? And I was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And even like whenever I would meet his friends and family, he would always just kind of like say that. He was like, I keep asking her, like, what did she do to me? And they would like talk about like, yeah, you got his head shook up and thing. It was just different. But although I know he was joking, I do also know that he did mean that, you know, like, what is this connection? Because it's something about it that's very unusual. And so the only other thing I can say is just like during that relationship, I just felt loved. I felt happy. It was just like a feeling of bliss. I don't know. It was, and then at the same time, like I said, I was like learning more about secrets, esoteric knowledge, and things like that. It was like just kind of being revealed to me. So like I said, I feel like I didn't really realize it until after we really separated. We would like, the relationship started falling apart. Like it was almost like we were in that bubble of happiness, that whole honeymoon phase. And I've told you guys about Gold Ray Twin Flames. The guy, his name is Mel. He gives you like the real deal about twin flames, and he breaks that down, like that whole bubble phase and stuff like that. And I was just like, I guess that's what we were in, because it was like everything was like falling apart after that. And he was getting more back to his regular routine, like, hey, this is not what I do, you know, and I got a life. I don't, you know, I'm not going to commit. And he would say like he didn't want to commit to anybody. That was another thing. Like whoever that main person was that he was with, she knew his lifestyle. He would tell me, he was like, sometimes I don't go home for weeks. He was like, I done been to Atlanta. I done been this and that, you know. And it's not always so much that he's with somebody or has another girlfriend here and there. It's just that that's just his life. He's just like, no, I just up and go, you know. And so that was starting to show. And I was just like, I don't think I can deal with that. That's not something I could be with. So that was really ultimately why we broke up. But then, and that's another thing, we were always kind of like playfully breaking up and then getting back together. Not playfully, but it was like on off, that was our thing. Like we would do 5 of Swords for like 2 days a week, 2 weeks, and then back together. You know, so it was just like on and off. It was like hard to stabilize. And so that last breakup, I was just like, whatever, we'll be back. And he didn't come back and didn't want to come back. And I was like trying to control myself, and I was just like, I'm not doing the thing that I did with the Karmic before. And all of a sudden it was just like I thought I fell into depression before. It was a very deep depression, very severe. Just the more each day that went by that I realized that we were broken up, I can't really even, when I think about it now, I really feel like I can't even explain it. That's how I ended up really losing my home, because I lost my job. I really lost my job early on. It was like shortly after the Karmic, I lost my job. But see, I was so obsessed with him. And then we broke up and I went through that depression. And then I found work again, but it was like, everything was unstable. And then even like when I, going through the separation with my twin, I really went through depression, and I felt like I couldn't really focus on work. Like I was someplace else. I was just someplace else. And it was just like, that's another thing where I learned about like the dark night of the soul. Mainly because I was just Googling stuff like, what is this? Like, what is this? Am I depressed, or is this normal? And I was just like reading about like that whole twin flame separation and going through that dark night of the soul. And I just felt like that's what I was going through. I just felt it. It was just the most excruciating sadness that I could ever go through. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how someone could go so low. My mind was just, and it was just like all these, it was like different phases. 1 minute you would roll out of this phase, and then all of a sudden you would just go back under. And you would just go through another process. And that's when I started learning about anxieties and stuff like that, and like fearing, like, it's not that I was afraid of death, but just always feeling like death was around the corner. It was just like, I don't want to go outside. I think I'm going to die today. It was just weird. It was just weird. But at the same time, my spirituality was accelerating. It was like I was having so many, and I have so many dream journals there I can't get to right now. They're in storage. But I was having so many unusual experiences in my dreams. And I guess too, like a spiritual awakening is when you find out who you are. It's like you have to burn off that old identity. Like you're undergoing like that burning process. You know how something has to burn and burn and burn until it reaches this form of purity. And that's what I just felt like I was going through. And along with that, I just was becoming, I don't know, how do you explain being spiritual? Like I felt like I just knew God, or I understood him better than any other religion had taught me. I felt connected to people. I just felt, you just feel things, you understand things, you want to help. And so I guess that's like what is considered like a spiritual awakening. And I was going to psychics and readers, and it was like, that was obsessive too, which is why eventually I just like started off and bought my own deck of cards and was like doing my own readings. And I was doing my own readings for almost a year, until one of my friends was like, you should, they do these on YouTube, you should do that. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And I saw, I watched a couple of readers, and I was like, how are they doing this for everybody? It's like, okay, I could do my own readings, but for everybody, how do you do that? And so I was like thinking about it. And then I had my godmother, she is into tarot and everything. And she was like, you need to start doing this on your own, mama. You know, she's Puerto Rican. She was just like, you need to do this on your own. So she, like one day I went to her for a reading, and she had clients that were waiting, and she was like telling her clients, she was like, let her read you. And I was like, no, I'm new. What are you doing? She was like, read them. You know, she kind of like put me on the spot and made me just like start reading people, and they were just like, no, you're accurate. And I was like, really? You know, so that's what kind of gave me the courage to start doing it on YouTube. And so during that whole healing process with my twin, I was still always seeing the 11s and stuff, and I was also seeing like the additional master numbers, but it was still like a healing process. But I knew I had changed, because it's like you just don't relate to people anymore. It was a period where I had like stopped watching TV. I was like, I don't have time for this foolishness. Now I'm back on it, you know. I mean, but that's because there's a difference watching TV and movies when you're asleep and unconscious or unaware versus when you're woke. See, when you're asleep, you can be programmed to, you know, fall into line with anything that they put on the news. Half this shit on the news I don't believe, especially these major stories. I do believe in crisis actors. I do believe these things happen for real, but I feel like a lot of these things are like, people are getting killed, but it's like for sensationalism. As a example, and I'll probably talk about this again, I don't want to stray too far off subject. You know, the kids movie Monster, and how the monsters had to scare the kids and they collected their screams as energy. I feel like there are energetic demons in charge that cause pain and sensationalism on TV, and they steal our energy. They do stuff to get our attention and make us like, oh my God, you know, and that's energy that you're giving away. Just like when you see, now I'm about to get into like religion and stuff, and this is part of the spiritual awakening, because you start learning the truth about religion. I'm gonna throw something out there. You can start researching this on your own. Those of you that grew up practicing Christianity and you know how they teach about Jesus Christ, that was look up Serapis. I always spell it wrong. I think it's Serapis, something like that. Serapis and Jesus Christ, whatever, you'll find it. But Jesus Christ is like pieced together from Egyptian deities and stories that were stolen, and they pieced all of that information together to create Jesus Christ, you know. And I mean, there's a lot of things that's part of what spirituality is doing research and deprogramming yourself. I guess too, it's like if you look at the Matrix, I mean, they put it in movie form, but that is the story of awakening, you know. And it's like I saw the Matrix, and that movie, I was in awe of that movie when it first came out. But when I watched it after being awakened, I was like boo-hooed. I was just like, oh my God, this is so real. People don't understand. This is the story. This is life, you know. This is what happens when you awaken. You know, everybody becomes Neo, you know, and that's basically what it is. So it's just like, that's what spiritual awakening is getting you deprogrammed. Yes, I'm researching the whole flat earth theory, because you have been lied to. You've been lied to about a lot of things. And it's all like for control. It's all feeding off of your energy. You know, if you look at like even how the Vatican is designed, is that whole keyhole. If you look at it from above, everybody, these people, these elites are taking people's energies and feeding off of that. You know, that's something very valuable. When you put all of your energy, and I'm not knocking religion, because everyone has to go their own path, and then everybody's path is not to enlighten this life, but mine was. So this is what I do, and I put out information for other people who are on the same path. You know, your job as a light worker is not to turn religious and start trying to conform people into your beliefs. It is to get the attention of the other people that are on a similar path, so you guys can all be aware and do your work and heal people that want to be healed. Heal people that want to be healed. Give people information that want information. You're not trying to convert people. You're not trying to put people down or make people feel low. That's not what you do. And that's another reason why I don't judge, because you have to put yourself in everyone's shoes to understand where they're coming from. You have to have compassion to be a light worker. You have to feel, you have to understand, you just have to be compassionate and feel. I will lie, tell the truth. I said I will lie. The only thing I said, I'm trying to say I won't lie. The only thing I won't, that as a light worker, that I just can't deal with right now are pedophiles. Like, I don't know what your journey is. I don't know I know you playing a role, but that's just something that as a light worker, I'm just like, okay, I'm not ready for that. I just want you dead. Like, I just want you to die if you're a pedophile. And honestly, if I look at it from a higher perspective, in fairness, this person is here for their little evil role, to play their little evil role. But it's like, I can't, I can't sit with that. But everybody else situation, you're doing it with your brother-in-law. Okay, I'm not gonna judge you. Everything else, I'm just like, okay, well, talk to me. Talk to Temaj, talk to the Matt, like, let me hear you. I'm here to help, so that's my role. So that's kind of like what I'm saying is like how when you met your twin flame. That's like the only thing that I can really think of, is that because you take some sort of spiritual path, you're not the same anymore. You're just not the same person anymore. And that's what happened to me. I completely disconnected from my social group. Like, the people that, like my friends from high school, that was like the main majority of my social group. But I just felt so disconnected. I'm just like, y'all think I'm stupid or crazy, I can't rock with you no more then. And, it's like, I just had to eventually disconnect from people in my life, not even so much my family. Like, I love my family. I don't even want to start crying, but that soul group that I got put into, I love them so much. Like, I'm so grateful for my family. Even though we don't have a lot of money, we don't take a lot of vacations together, like, we just have that heart and soul with we just connected. We love each other so much. So I love my mom, my brothers, my sisters, my dad, rest his soul. I'm grateful. I couldn't have been put in a better soul family. So yeah, I was saying that to say that my family, like, I never really disconnected from my family. The only thing I disconnect with them from is like the religion. Like, they're not all religious, like just mainly my mom, and my other brother, well, he's kind of religious, but just as a whole, they all still claim, see, I grew up Islam and as a Muslim, so they still claim that. I'm like, once I came into spirituality, I was like, I can't, I really left Islam alone a long time ago, because I had questions. That's why I was saying I always loved God, and as a spiritual person, I had questions. And they start teaching, like, when you're not supposed to ask questions, that mean, God will put a veil on your over your eyes, and it's basically a bad thing. And I was just like, I love God like that. Why would he do that to me? Something's not right with this religion then, if I can't ask questions. And so that was originally why I kind of left the religion and started disassociating myself with it, because I knew God didn't pick in specific people. I was just like, no, I feel like he wants to help everybody. I don't believe in heaven and hell no more. I do believe there are higher realms, and I do believe there are lower realms, but it's not in the sense like that's where you're going for eternity. I feel like, I don't know. I don't want to get off into my theories about death, because I'm trying to focus on the whole twin flame karmic situation. So back to knowing that I was a twin flame with a twin flame, is like I said, I just had that awakening after we separated, and I just felt like my spirituality accelerated. And then two, what is, if you want to connect it to tarot, like every time I was asking about what we were, that the Lovers card kept coming out, that particular image. And you know, the Lovers, if you study astrology and tarot, you know that card corresponds to the sign of Gemini, and Gemini is the sign of the twins. And just looking at that card and how the flames are coming up, and how the woman, she's looking up at the angel, and the angel is like, she's aware, she's showing consciousness, but her twin is asleep. He's just like looking at her physical body. So, you know, it's, that to me is the epitome of like the twin flame. And I just kept pulling that card every time. I was like, what are we? You know, what is this? And it was just like, the Lovers, the Lovers, the Lovers. It got to the point where I said, okay, I'm gonna stop asking, because if I pull a different card, I'm gonna be mad this time. So I just kind of like stopped asking. I just accepted it for what it was. So after I had gone through that little part of healing, I decided I was ready to have a soulmate relationship. But see, I didn't know my karmic was going to be my karmic. You know, I just was like, oh, well, he's my soulmate. So I was like, I'd rather be in a soulmate relationship. These twin flame relationships, from what I've experienced and what I've been reading, you don't even get to stay with them anyway. It's too difficult. It's too on off. You know, I was like, I don't want that. I was like, I want something real, you know. And so, not real, but normal, rather. You know, I was like tired of all this super spiritual stuff. I was like, I just want normal. I just want normal. I want somebody to go home to. I want to be able to talk to somebody when I go to bed at night. I want to, you know, make love. I want everything. I just want to see that. I don't want to come home and then somebody's there and then they're not, and then you guys are telepathically doing all this stuff. You know, I was like, I'm tired of that. So I just wanted something normal. So that's when I went back to my karmic. I reached out to him. And at that time, he wasn't dealing with that other person anymore. So it was just like, okay, what's up? And we just started talking more and more. But he did keep saying, like, you don't know me. You don't know me. I'm trying to be nice to you. And he just kept saying, every time he would, like, hit a certain point during his drinking episodes, that's what he would say. And he actually allowed me to post a video of him on YouTube before. I don't know how many people saw it, but I took it down because I got his permission while he was drunk. So when he was sober, he was just like, no, I don't want to be on it. Take it off. So I took it off. So it's somewhere on my YouTube hidden. But when I went back to him, and that's when I started realizing that he was pretty terrible. I guess it started with the fact that it was like I started to realize, I'm like, why do I keep getting guys that are just openly, I mean, at least he was honest. That's the best thing that I could say. He was honest about his ways, but he was out there a bit too much, a lot. You know, it's just like, everybody that say hi to you, that's what you do? Like, what's up? And it was like, I witnessed it with my own eyes, that how these women were to him. Like, they didn't care that I was with him. It didn't matter. They would just like start flirting, like outright flirt. He'd be minding his own business, and all of a sudden they just stop, have a conversation, and I would just like walk away. I'm like, I know he finna get their number. Like, I'm done, whatever. And I would just like leave them in the store talking, and then the next thing you know, he come in the car. He'd be like, "Don't be mad at me." I'm like, you know what? Just shut up. I don't even want to hear it. And it was weird. Again, this is like embarrassing to confess, because it sounds like I don't love myself, and I do. And I know, don't disrespect me and put some shit like there on my comments talking about I don't love myself, because I do. It's just that when certain things you get into, you don't really know how you're going to handle it until you're in that situation, and that's kind of what was happening. So I mean, in retrospect, it looked like it was just more so like a lesson, things that I had to learn, what's acceptable, what's unacceptable. It just, something was just, period, was just a lesson. I could get a lot of lessons out of it and help other people through the lessons that I learned through that. But what I was also getting ready to say, I mean, it just got darker. It wasn't just, I don't even want to say cheating, because it's not like he was lying about it. It was just the behavior. It was just out there. Yes, I had to get a test. I'm like, what is going on with you? He was like, what do you think I am? I'm like, I'm just saying, you know. But it started with him drinking and staying at my house. Like, he had his own house, but he would like also come to my house, and he would stay for days at a time, just binging. And I felt like it got worse, and he would be like, I don't even do this at home. I'm like, why you get over here and you want to like spaz out? Like, what is that? And it got to the point where, you know, he didn't have a job. He was always like, can you please give me another bottle? Can you give me a bottle? And I'd be like, where's your own money? He always had money, though. He had his ways. And plus, he was a mama's boy, so she would loan him money. And plus, he was a manipulator. He was always lying and getting money. His oldest brother, that's best friends with my brother, he was always giving him money. But then he told me, too, that his oldest brother was giving him money to take me out. Like, go take Maddie out. That's my nickname. Don't call me. Only certain people can call me Maddie. But he'd be like, go take Maddie out. And come to find out, he was using that to buy alcohol. Oh, nigga. But it was like, what? And he told me, he was just like, don't be mad. My brother been giving me money. He was always starting off his sentences like, don't be mad. And I'm laughing about it now because it's funny. It's because I've known him since childhood. I still love him. I still love him. I just know that he's a horrible boyfriend. I never want to be his girlfriend ever again. Like, absolutely not. You know, that's something that I just don't want any parts of. But he was always drinking. His energy was that, and then he was an evil drunk. And, you know, it would get to the point where he would become threatening, and acting like he was going to do something. We would get into arguments. And I would be running out of my own house because I couldn't get him out. It was just like, you know, get out of my house. And he'll be like, oh, shut up. I ain't going nowhere. Such and such. I'm staying right here. I belong here. It was just like, get out. You know, get out of my house, you know. And so it would get to the point where I would just leave. Like, I would just go get my car, drive around for not hours, but maybe at least an hour. You know, I just wanted to be away. Or I just go sit in my garage, sit in the car in the garage, and he'll be coming out to the garage. If he wouldn't stop coming out there and begging me to come back in the house, I would just drive off. It was just bad. It was bad. I don't want to get emotional again. It's like the whole thing with like sexuality was like, it felt, I'm not going to say that I don't want to get into detail. I feel like it's too hard. I'm trying to be open so that I can help other people. But it's like I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Like, a lot of stuff was forced. And it was forced because I would be like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to do this right now. And he would wake me up very disrespectfully out of my sleep, like shoving my head, wake up, I need it, do this for me. You know, you get the drift. And I would be like, no, like, have you lost your damn mind? What is wrong with you? I'm not doing that. Like, you don't talk to me that way. And I would refuse him, but it was like he would consistently wake me up all night, like every 10 minutes. Like, I would yell at him, curse him out, and then he'd be like, okay, go to sleep then, fuck you, go to sleep. And then I'd be like, I'd drift off to sleep only to wake up with, wake up, come on, look at this, get this down. It's like, it was completely disrespectful. And I'd be like, what is wrong with you, you know? And I would, again, like, get up out the house, go to another room. I'd be like, I'll go sleep on the couch. He'll follow me out there. He'd be like, I don't understand what the problem is. I would do it for you. Blah, 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 blah. It was bad. It was just like, it was horrible. I was always running out the house, and then I would like call my brother, and then he would call his brother, and it's like nobody could talk sense into him, and except for his one brother. And it was just like they didn't. And now I saw why they never wanted us to be together, because they was like, if they ever get together, they could break up the dynamics of our closeness of the family. And you know, she don't know him. She don't know his shenanigans. She don't know. And sure enough, yeah, I did have to call his brother a couple of times to talk some sense into him. But even so, it was just like, it was bad, you guys. It was just the worst. I mean, I could go on and on. It was like and then it was like this, like, I guess you could say every day. And the only time I got a break was when he would go home, and he'd be like, I should go home, shouldn't I? Like, thinking like, fuck yeah, please do, you know. And then he'd just be like, I should go home. And I'd be thinking in my head like, please go home, yes. And so but I didn't like feed into it. So he'd be like, well, I'm gonna go home and get washed up and this and that, and now I'll be back over. And I'd be like, that's okay. And sure enough, you know, he'll go home, he'll be home for a day or two, and then he'd be right back over, just with all of that drama. It was just, and he was just embarrassing. He was loud, and I worked from home, but it was like, I hated it, because like when I was working, I would be so glad the days that he was like just out sleep. But when he would wake up, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. It's like, please go back to sleep. Because when he woke up, all he wanted to do was drink. If he didn't have any of his own, he'd be like, please go to the store. Go to the store. Go to the store on your break. Go to the store after work. Come on, get this. I'm gonna pay you back. You know, it's just like always something like that. And then he would like bother my son, like going in his room, and be telling him like all these horrendous sex stories that my son was just like, what the fuck, dude, you like banging my mom. I don't want to hear this. Like, what is wrong with you telling me about other women, and like, what is wrong with you? You know, he was just like, he was a nightmare, just outright nightmare. And I whenever he was gone, I was just happy. But you guys, is bad too, because you have to understand the psyche. It was like I was still like jealous if he was giving someone more attention than I was. And it was just like, why am I jealous? You know, like, he's a nightmare. I should be glad, you know, get him out of my hair. But I was actually a little jealous. And I think too, I always still hope that, you know, it would get better, or maybe if he wasn't like this, it would be better. Because when he was sober, he was like completely different, very serious, very not philosophical, but he just smart, just talking about history, just very educated. And it was just like, why are you ruining yourself? Like, what are you doing to yourself? But he said he didn't like himself that way. He didn't like being serious. He liked being the life of the party. He just, you know, he didn't like himself as a serious person. He was always running. And then too, like during that whole time frame, his brother had passed, and that just really made matters worse. I wasn't with him. His brother passed during that time where we were separated, before I knew he was a monster. So he had lost his brother during that time frame. But after that, his brother, after that, he still was just, it was just worse. He was already in a dark spot, in a dark space, but he was just worse. He was just like the epitome of the devil card, like at the worst. Not even, I can't even like think of like the positive parts about the devil card. He was just, all I could think was that he was a monster. It was always to the point where I could understand women who were driven to insanity and doing things that you would later regret. And it was just like, I never wanted to go there. So that's another reason why I would always like leave out of my house, because I'm like, this man gone, if he don't kill, if I don't kill myself, I'm gonna kill him. You know, like, I need him gone. It was just, it was bad. And the thing that finally the thing that finally separated us was when he had got excuse me, come away from the door please, I'm talking about things. So the thing that really had made us separate was when, like I said, he was always meeting somebody new, and this one person in particular, I guess, really caught his attention. And so we had some sort of argument. I put him out. I've done that before, but he always came back. This time he didn't really come back, but I was like glad. I was like so glad that he was more interested in somebody like really had his attention. And he was always messing with like younger people too, and I guess they didn't know no better. And he got away with like way more things with it. I felt, it's like I felt bad for whoever was his new toy, but at the same time, it was just like, better than me. Like get that demon out of my home. And so the thing too, like, I was still going through my spiritual growth with him involved, but it was just like, I was always like, what in the world? I was just like, I thought after my twin and after I had separated from my twin, it was time for something better. Like, why is this happening? You know, and I could only assume that, you know, it's unfortunately just more lessons, more karma. And was something else to realize. But there was this moment where, one of those moments where I felt like it was a night where I felt like I was being taken advantage of. And I just kind of surrendered. Like, and I know when people are like, why would you do that? But you have to understand, it was just like, I surrendered that this was my karma. And I surrendered to the fact that I guess I guess I just had to learn from this. You know, it was like, I'm gonna stop fighting it. I was like, I guess I need to learn something, you know. I don't feel like God is punishing me. I was just like, I just felt like there's something that I'm learning, and I just accepted it. The minute that happened, I'm telling you guys, that's why I say that's when he met that girl. Like, it was like literally like the next day maybe, or the day after that. It ended for good. It ended for good, which it was hard. And I know, like, some of you were asking, how did I get rid? Because it was difficult, because he was the type of person where if I didn't answer the phone, he would call again and again and again. Like, he was like, nobody getting sleep tonight. If you don't answer the phone, I'm eventually just come over there. Like, stop it. Just answer the phone. He would call, like, I would turn my phone off. It just didn't stop him. I would turn my phone back on only to see that he had left like 20 minutes. It was like the tables had turned, but worse. It's like, oh, I can't do this, but you done lost your whole mind. Like, doing it was just bad. Like, he was literally like stalking me, talking about I'm in your neighborhood, but like in a bad way. Like, I don't want you to come over. It's just like, I'm in your neighborhood. You don't know who I know. I'm coming over here now. You know, stuff like that. And it was just like, I was so tired of it. But the only thing that stopped it for good was because he got involved with someone else, and I was glad. Now, also during that time, another strange thing that happened when I was with him. I was in like a state of depression, but a different state, not the dark night of the soul. This was a different type of depression I was going through, and just being unhappy with his energy, and like feeling like this not the partner that I want, this not the life I want with him. But, you know, still kind of going through that process, like just take it and learn from it, take it and learn from it. And so there was this moment where I predicted that I was going to see my twin again through my reading. And it happened just the way I read for myself. One night when Mars was retrograde, I think it was 2016, and I pulled up to Walmart. That's where he was working. And sure enough, he was outside on his break. And I was just like, we locked eyes, and it was just kind of like, I'm gonna show his ass I don't chase, and I'm over him. So we just like nodded to one another like, hey, what's up? And just kind of like left it at that. But it was like just that moment, it did something. It was another like recharge. He is like, seeing him gave me like a wave of energy, and I just felt like empowered. And I just really knew for a fact, like, what am I doing with this karmic person? Like, really, he really needs to get out of my life. You know, it was just like, he really, seeing my twin really did something that I needed. And so, yeah, that was like about a month before we actually separated. So yeah, after things ended with the karmic, I ended up meeting a nice soulmate. He was very nice. I hope he's not watching this, because he used to follow me. He was all into, we were both like, that was the first time I met somebody who was into tarot and spell work, and he was just so knowledgeable. We both were just like very two intellectual people, just like bouncing off of each other, the conversation. And it was very telepathic with him. I feel like he was the most telepathic. I don't know if it's telepathic so much because we were soulmates, because I have telepathic moments with my family too. And somebody asked me that, like, can you be telepathic with everyone? So yes, I do feel like you can be telepathic with more than one person, or it doesn't have to just be with your twin. Matter of fact, and I was saying before, I feel like the twin telepathy was a different type of telepathy, and it still is. Like, if I start feeling something in my heart, I know that he's avoiding calling me when he wants to. But right now, I feel like me and him are just both kind of like separate and doing our own thing. But yeah, it was like the soulmate that I met, the nice soulmate. Everything, I know you all like, what happened with him? You guys, it's the hand I was dealt. He ended up going back to somebody else, his karmic, that he was very miserable with her, but apparently he just wasn't done with that lesson. So, but yeah, that was a very, very loving relationship. That was very short-lived too. So to me, I felt like I was his rebound, but he didn't feel like a rebound to me. I felt like we were going, and we were talking about, we were talking about marriage. It was like weird the way we hit it off. It was just like, we should get married, and he was just like, this is the first time I ever felt like this. Everybody keeps saying, what did you do to me? Why don't you find out? No, I'm just playing. But seriously, he was always like, what did you do to me? What did you do? Yeah, unfortunately, that didn't work, and he wanted to remain friends, and I just couldn't handle that. I was just like, I can't, and I handled it maturely. I was like, okay, I get it, because I had evolved again, had been through so much stuff. I understood that was a karmic, and I was just like, damn, I guess he got a contract with them, and it's nothing I can really do about it. So I just kind of let it go, and that was the first breakup where I did not, fall into depression or, have fits. Don't get me wrong, I was sad, but, I wasn't like boo-hooing and, all of that like I normally do. It was just like more of I feel like I handled that breakup the most mature. Like, I was like, damn, it's over. I feel like that still took a few months to get over, because in the back of my mind, I kept feeling like he was supposed to come back. And even like what readers were telling me, I go to readers when I'm like going through something. Other than that, I'm not really listening to other readers and stuff, only when I'm like going through something. So I was like asking other readers, like only one reader was honest with me too, with like, no, like he's gone. The other readers were like, yes, he's coming back. See, that's why I can't sugarcoat. Well, like, if you don't see it, don't lie to me. Like, just be honest. I'd rather say something to hurt you and make you just, be like, oh, why didn't she see the good stuff, as opposed to telling you somebody coming back and they not, so I just rather the truth. And it was one reader, and I would give her props. I like her, I do, but sometimes I don't know. I don't know what it is about this reader. Sometimes I like her, but sometimes it's just things that she say, and I'm like, I think I need to leave you alone. But she's accurate. But I'm not gonna mention, only because sometimes I'm like, you know how I think we read each other wrong. I don't know. I just think maybe me and her read each other wrong. Like, I feel like she takes energies the wrong way, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't really feel that way about her in a negative sense. I just felt like I should just kind of separate from that particular reader, because I feel like there's some sort of misunderstanding between me and her. But she's good, though. She is good. But anyway, let me kind of run over some questions because I've gone on and on and on. But I feel like I kind of answered throughout the whole talk. But someone said, I thought twin flames were rare. I did too. Like, from going into this, like when I first started learning about it, that's what they say. Like, everybody, that's rare, that's rare. And I'm like, maybe I'm starting to think, you know, from listening to other people's stories, like, how can everybody be meeting their twin flame? I was like, maybe it's rare because, maybe it used to be rare because before the internet, you know, you didn't know and you didn't have nobody to talk to. Maybe that's why it was viewed as rare. But maybe, I still feel like it's rare, but maybe not as rare as once thought. Or maybe twin flames are accelerating right now. Something's going on. I don't know, because I don't really like to tell people, like, no, that's not your twin flame, because I really feel like it's really an inner knowing. Even like, there's somebody left a comment. I'm waiting for you to respond, Miss Lady. Somebody left a comment. She's not the only one, but I've had a couple of people tell me, like, oh, I don't think that's your twin. I think your twin is still coming in. And I've had people email me, like, I had a dream that you thought so and so was your twin, but that wasn't your twin. Your new twin is coming, or your real twin is coming. You know. And I'm just like, why do people keep telling me that? Like, I feel like that's my experience, you know, and that's I just know that if a twin flame is supposed to enlighten you, that's exactly what happened. You know, I became enlightened. I just kind of started helping people. I feel like I became a light worker because of that connection. I don't think it would have happened with just the karmic alone. I think he played a role. Maybe mostly for me to be able to relate to people that have a karmic, but I don't think I don't think I would have had the awakening part without connecting with my twin. Like, I really became enlightened after that separation, and it's like the enlightenment really happens after the separation, really. So yeah, I thought they were rare too. The difference between a twin and a soulmate, like I said, I feel like a soulmate, not necessarily talking about the karmic, but a soulmate, I feel like it's just more of an easygoing. You guys are like on the same path. You have the same goals. You want to work something together. You want to build together. The twin situation is like, it seems like the two people, you guys just can't, all you have to say for the relationship is that you never experienced anything like that before and you became enlightened. But other than being together, like, I've only seen, I know Gold Ray is still with his twin, and this twin couple named Lee and Sherry. There's a couple other people. I ain't gonna lie, I do get sketchy about some of these twin flame connections, and I feel like there's a lot of liars out there. I feel like there's a lot of people who found out about this phenomenon and just kind of get attention for it or make money for it and just have no clue what they're talking about. Or they're just with a very loving soulmate, with a connection that's so beautiful, they're just like, oh, this is my twin flame. I'm just like, I think from my experience and the other harsh lessons I learned, you go through the ringer and have to do some sort of soul searching on your own, you know, and you don't always end up with your twin flame. So that's why, in a way, I'm kind of like a Debbie Downer when it comes to the twin flames being together. And that's why they keep saying it's a union, it's a union, it's not a relationship. People, that's why people are messed up, because they look at it as some sort of romantic relationship, and it's not supposed to or necessarily be a romantic relationship. It's a connection, it's a union where you guys come together and you do light work. But like the way Mel talks about it from Gold Ray, he's like, he talks about the fact that it's not like people think. Like, they are intimate, but it's he make it sound like they're just like two robotic people together, you know. I mean, and I guess that's it. And then he even has made the claim too that you can have more than one twin. Like, I had never heard of that before, but some things that he says, it makes me think, you know. And that's the thing too about being on the spiritual path. I feel like you can't get locked into one way of thinking. Like, you have to always be expanding, growing, and evolving here, because information keeps changing, shifting, downloading, or you just understand things from different angles. So yeah, the soulmate relationship, you know, is more so what you would call that normal relationship. Twin flames, it's like you just keep coming into union and then separating, but it's like light work. And my twin too, he has evolved. Like, when he came back around, like after we separated, you know, I said I went to the Karmic, then I met me and the Karmic broke up, then I met a nice soulmate, then we broke up, then my twin came back, and we were together until just recently. I moved out here. But when my twin came back, you know, he told me, he had been telling me before he like fully came back, he had been telling me he had changed, and he was just like, I haven't been the same without you. He was like, you changed my life. And he was like, I'm starting to believe, he said, I do believe with twin flames. Because at first he was like blowing it off and calling me crazy and telling me to shut up with that. But, you know, after I started talking to him, he was completely different. And like I said, like, he had a temper problem. Not no more. Like, he has a, you know, a quick temper, but it was like he handled it completely different, and it barely came out. Like, he was just so, I was so proud of him. He had really evolved. And he even has become spiritual, but in a separate way. Like, see, he still holds on to religion. He's still more so, he's torn between Christianity and Islam, but he's still more on a religious side. He still doesn't quite get stuff like crystals and candles and everything is evil to him. You know, like, he'll be like, oh, I'm just kidding. Okay, but no, but lead the devil. You think that's cute, talking about the devil? You know, stuff like that. It's like, get it, you know, if you need to study about the devil and where that origin came from too. There's so much stuff. That's what I'm saying, you all, spirituality is about studying and researching about all of that stuff. So, but he's spiritual in a sense where he had become a clothing designer during our separation, and he had all these spiritual things that he was talking about putting into his clothes, and he has a few things that he's put out, but he has not taken it serious enough. I was trying to help him, like, bae, I got a channel, like, when you ready, like, let's do this. But he's still not ready in a sense to having like that traditional relationship. And that's too why I keep telling you guys I don't really want to talk about my twin, because, well, I don't want to do twin flame readings because I don't like being fixated on twins. Like, get over that. Focus on yourself. You know, I'm about focusing on yourself. If your twin come back, they do. If you get a soulmate, you do. But the most important thing to me is just focusing on yourself, making sure that you're happy. I don't need to know what my twin is doing. I feel like I'm so over that. And I don't want to, because I'm not in that state of mind, I don't want to keep feeding that into everybody else that's like anticipating, where's my twin? Where's my twin? You know, I don't want to get into that. You know, it's bad enough I do like the readings and I know his sign, and I'm like, damn, that's not happening with me. So I guess that's what's happening with him and whoever he's with, you know. So it's bad enough I had to see that. I don't want to be fixated on twin flames. I vent to you guys every now and then, but you know, on a regular basis, I just don't want to do that. And I just said, yeah, you can have a telepathic connection with anyone. I kind of talked about how you could tell with the twin flame. Like I said, I feel like everyone's experience will be different, but like the physical things, like I was having like those weird heart palpitations whenever he's getting ready to come around, or whenever he doesn't want to talk to me. It's been moments where my heart is like spinning and going out of control, and I'm like, now I know he want to call me and he just holding back. Because when I start, that's another thing I'll do to cars, like, what's going on with my car? Like, why is my heart doing this? And I'll get that 5 of Swords, and it's just like, seriously? I'm like, this got to be his energy then. And then I'll like send a text message to him like, I told you I can feel you thinking about me. And then he'll like, he'll like reply back like, haha, like, I know. and then it's like, he will tell me, like, he'll admit that he was like trying not to call me, or like just trying to purposely leave me alone or whatever. And so it's like I could feel that. I'm like, I'm telling you, whenever my heart start doing this, I know you're trying to stay away from me. So that's how it works with me. I don't know why your heart might be palpitating, but I feel like that is some sort of connection with the whole twin flames. And then, like I said, seeing those 11s, I feel like that is, if people who haven't seen the 11s, I mean, people who haven't connected with the twin flame and they're seeing 11s, I still feel like that's like a notification that you are on a spiritual, on the path of spiritual enlightenment, or your journey has begun. Because that, to me, that was like the first number that I came. So I think that's like the first number that you start to see. The other ways I can tell, like I said, it's more so you can tell after the separation. So it's like once you go through that thing and you start realizing what that connection was, and learning all this stuff about other realms, and just all that esoteric stuff and astrology, you just, it's like, you know what, okay, that was my twin. When did I realize the other one was the false? Well, when I got one and saw how he was, that he turned out to be that monster, you know, damn near sexually abusive, very just drunk. He was mean. He was always saying mean things to me. Like, he was always talking about my weight, and I was just like, well, what the fuck you with me then? Like, I don't need this. Like, I'm comfortable with my body. Like, I don't need somebody making me feel bad about it, you know. And he would always, you know, be like, I don't want to see a stomach, and say I don't normally date fat girls. And it was just like, who the fuck are you? Like, okay, then bye. Why are you here? Go. You know, but he was always just like saying mean things, and then, you know, as time progressed, I like fat girl. It's some stupid comedian and be like, some good pussy under there. But, you know, just stupid jokes like that. But point being, my twin never said things like that. Never. He's always uplifting, always saying positive things. This person was not. They were very mean to other people, not just me. I remember one time when he was so extremely drunk, and we went to the currency exchange, and the girl was kind of giving me a hard time with some credentials or something that I needed. And she wasn't that cute, and he just like went in. The first time he made like a little joke, I kind of snickered because I was like, that's what you get, you know. But then he like really went in, and then I felt like bad, like that's enough, like stop. It was so disrespectful, and he was loud. It was embarrassing. It was like people in there, and he was like looking back at everybody, like everybody. He was like, y'all need to wait till you get up here and get a look at these teeth that she need to get worked on, and blah blah blah, and you know, he was just like going on and just roasting her, but it wasn't even funny. It was mean. It was just mean, and I was just like, that's enough. I was like, stop, you know. And I got to the point where I had to apologize for her, like, I'm sorry. He would do that with my neighbors. Like, it was embarrassing. Like, it would be a sunny day and we would go outside and kind of hang out in my front yard, and if the neighbors were out there, he started saying something about their bikes, about not having a car, or it was just any little thing he could find to roast about somebody, or to shed negative light. That's all he did, was shed negative light on people and their situation, their looks. He was just a very lowly spirit. And that's the only time I'll say to somebody, I don't think that's your twin. If somebody is doing that to you, because that just is not that's operating definitely from a low place. That's very mean, and it's very negative. So yeah, I'd learn to distinguish, like, okay, them palpitations wasn't for you. Yes, we have a telepathic connection, but I think that's just because of certain planetary alignments, especially something dealing with Uranus and Mercury seem to set that off between people. When I was looking at the chart of the people that I had the most connections to like that, it was always something with Uranus, Mercury, Moon. Not so much Neptune. I think Neptune is more so with the dreaming, but as far as thoughts and thinking about the person and the phone ring, like, I feel bad, like, talking about him now. I'm like, not bad, but I'm just like, I talk about him too much longer, and I'm gonna be getting a phone call from him, and I don't want to talk to him. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll talk to him every now and then, but it's like, keep your distance. I'm far. I'm in another city, state now, but so what else? Somebody said, do you think I'll end up with my twin? Oops, I should have wrote that down better. Again, I don't know. I'll be honest and say another reason why I don't like when he comes back around is because I don't want to get my hopes up. Like, I know how he is, and it's like, okay, I accept that he doesn't want to be in a relationship. He doesn't want traditional stuff. And I get that. So it's like having to learn how, if he's around, just knowing what I'm involved with and not thinking like, oh, he's going to change. Like, no, he said he's not like that, Or if he were to change, then he would have to actually do the things and say it out his mouth. Like, okay, I'm ready for something stable now. I do feel like I want to be in a stable relationship. I want to start by us building and, living together or getting married or something like that. But at this point, none of that has ever come out his mouth. He's not showing it in his actions now. So if I were to get back in contact with him, I kind of don't want to, because I know I still love him, and I don't want to have my expectations ruined like that. So if we did, fine. Let's just say I'm not opposed to it, but at the same time, I'm like so over that. Like, no, I'm not waiting on him. I'm not holding my breath. Please just give me a soulmate. I do want a companion. So that's what I'm open to, is a companion. Somebody said, do soulmates cross paths? Always. Like I said, I always feel like anybody you have a soul contract with is a soulmate. I feel like yes, but the question is, will it last? Depends on what your soul agreement with. Let's just say in not a previous life, but before you guys incarnated and were born into this life, before you had that conversation that you were going to get together, but was it the conversation, okay, we're going to get together and we're going to become married and this and that? Okay, meet you down there. Was it that conversation, or was it the conversation, I'm going to come into your life, we're going to be together for X amount of months, X amount of years, and then we're going to go our separate ways. Our purpose for coming together will be this lesson. So I don't know. Who knows? And that's another reason why I don't like asking questions like forever in my tarot. Those of you that be like, will I ever, or will we be together forever? Like, I don't like answering those questions. I can say based off of the energies, the current energies, it looks like something is going to be long lasting. Other than that, I can't promise or guarantee that. And then about the heart chakra activated, that's what I was talking about. Has your heart been spinning? Has it been feeling like it's going to come out your chest? And yes, it has been so severe to the point where I've gone to the hospital where they were like, nothing's wrong. Being hooked up, and they're like, nothing's wrong. And that's like, okay, this is something so spiritual then. So I'm not saying don't go to the doctor. Go to the doctor. That's the idea. I went to the hospital because I was like, this is crazy. Like, my heart's going to come out of my chest. It was just like fluttering and just going like, it just felt weird is all I can say. It is a very unusual feeling. It feels like butterflies or something is like floating around in there and flapping wings and going crazy. It's a very strange feeling. So I guess as far as how can you tell if it's been activated, that's how I can tell. Do I want to put, oh, that was my answer. I don't want to put all my energy into twin flame stuff. Premonitions before twin. I didn't have a premonition of my twin, but I had the premonition of my karmic, which kind of started that whole journey. So maybe for most people, they do have some sort of premonition about what's to come. Synchronicities with the karmic. Yes, that's what I was talking about. Again, I was seeing the 11s, but it was confusing because I told you like 6 weeks later is when I connected with my twin. And so those 11s might have been a heads up for my twin that I was getting ready to connect with. How I got away from the narc. Well, I put narc for short, narcissist. Like I said, he luckily just lost interest because someone else came into the picture and he became fixated on this new person. I mean, he was always, don't get me wrong, like I said, he was always hooking up with somebody, but this one particular person, I guess he was a little smitten. And so when we had that argument, it was easy for him to be like, oh, fine, I got someplace else to go. And he started, spending time with them. And I was glad. I was like, I'm done. Now, I don't know. I almost want to say I got lucky because even after it didn't really work out with him and her, he was still like trying to come back. And I was just like, no, we're over. Like, that's done. He was still blowing up my phone. But at that time, like I said, I had like, it was almost like I had went into a rebound relationship, but I thought it was going to last. But I was just like, plus I got a boyfriend, like stop calling, and he was just like real jealous of that part. So we just separated because for one, I stopped answering his calls, and luckily, he just got involved with someone else. And then I said no so much to the point where even after that other relationship didn't work out, someone else came into the picture too. And I feel like for me, that was my saving grace because I did have a moment of weakness where I was getting ready to let him come by or reconnect and catch up. And then another new person came into his life and she ended up getting pregnant. And I'm just like, bye, goodbye, bye, good for you, not for me. So, that is basically how my karmic went away. And I don't know, it's just like after that initial breakup, he never did really go bananas anymore, like threatening to come to my house or actually come into my house. He stopped with all that calling 30, 50 times within an hour. He stopped all of that. He just did. So, and then two, I think he came to realize that he was belligerent too and partially under the influence and acting like a fool himself. So he just kind of caught himself. But yeah, and then two, I guess when I was going through it with my karmic, like I always knew, I was always aware of what was happening. Like I was aware that this was a moment, an unfortunate moment that I was just willing to take the lessons from. Like I almost said, like I feel like it's just a magical moment, that moment that I surrendered to my fate, that it just stopped. It just stopped. And that's why I kind of like try to teach people to surrender to whatever is happening. Like even recently when I was working at this job that I just absolutely hated it. And I was like, I guess there's something karmic about this job, And eventually I just kind of surrendered to it. Like I just surrendered to it. And then shortly after, everything picked up with the readings even more, like to the point where it's like, oh, okay, I can sustain this can be my 9 to 5 now. So that's what's currently happening now. I'm just strictly focused on tarot readings. So I didn't need that job anymore. And it's just like, oop, you're released from this So, you guys, I feel like I know that was a very long video. I know you guys probably did not watch it all in one sitting, but hopefully you paused it and reflected and went back and rewound and, you know, hope it helped. Thank you guys for watching and many blessings to you.